data. Alright, so we'll assume that it is sending data and it's working, because usually it'll say online eventually. Oh, YouTube says online. Twitch is still thinking. So, I'm still working, but if someone shows up and wants me to play a particular game, I can do that. Otherwise, I might just sit here and babble at the screen while I keep working. So, playing a game by myself can be fun, but like I said, I actually have work to do, so if no one's here, I'm going to just keep working. I like my job though, so that's pretty good. So I can see the chat. So if you message me and say, hey, let's play this, or hey, let's just keep chatting, I'm fine either way. So I am, among other things, a professional copy editor. So I am cleaning up a document. It means I can talk and work at the same time. Some of my other work, depending on what stage I'm at, I have to think more often. So I can't actually chat and work at the same time. Right now I'm counting authors. Professional, let me rephrase that. Scientific journals often have different publication standards. So for example, the citations list or references list. So for example, you would say, oh, Mr. Smith said this in his paper and we'd like to agree or disagree, and then Ms. Johnson said that in her paper and we'd like to compare the differences. So then you have to reference those two papers and then describe what you think. So at the end of your paper, you have to give the details, like the name of the paper, all the authors on the paper, not just the first author, the title of the paper, the journal it was published in, or book, or website, or wherever you found your reference. And right now I'm counting authors on a paper, so that this paper only lets you have 3 authors, and after that you have to say et al. Et al is French, et for and al period, and I honestly forget what the al is abbreviation of, but that's how it's written in the paper, et space al period. And if it's really fancy, the et al is in italics to show that it's not the main language, which in this case the main language is English. And so a French word or a Latin word are in italics. And then sometimes along the way, I will fix other typos or updates I see. But right now, mostly just counting authors. 1, 2, 3, paste et al. 1, 2, 3, paste et al. It's, like I said, it's kind of boring to do by myself. So usually what I do is I put on another streamer, either a recorded session or a live one, and I watch streaming while I do this. But since I promised to try and stream myself every Saturday night, I've been trying really hard to maintain that. I've been doing it for, I think, 2 months now. I have missed a couple times, but in both cases I did record a brief note ahead of time saying I won't be able to make it. In one case, I was actually with friends for the weekend, and in the other case, I think my daughter and I had plans. So, in both cases, I was unavailable to stream. So far the chat is very quiet. It says there's one person watching, but I don't know if that's me or someone else. So if someone wants me to play a game, just speak up and I'll happily play a game, and then after I'm done playing, I'll get back to this work. I'm not a total night owl. I'd like to go to bed by about midnight or 1 a.m. So I can happily play a game for a couple hours and then keep working. I am not a certified copy editor. I have thought about getting my certificate. Of course, that means paying for tuition, paying for the testing. That's not a bad thing, I have enough clients right now that I don't need more. Oh, hello, Shanra. A short good morning from Australia. I wish you a nice day and stream. Must go to work. See you. Okay. Yeah, nice to see you too. And I hope you have a good day at work. Thanks. All right. So, one person meant there was actually a live human being watching. Woohoo! Yay, Shanra. So I will just keep working until someone says they want me to play a game. My current favorite games are Horizon Zero Dawn, Ark, and Subnautica. I also have in my library that I would play pretty easily. Thank you. Very cute. I like your emoticons. Anyway, yes. Very cute. Thank you. So I have Moss, but that Moss and Skyrim would both be played with the 3D helmet. I have Skyrim set up for the OBS streamer on 3D. I'm pretty sure it should still be working. I already went through some of the technical difficulties. I have tried Moss briefly just to make sure it runs on my computer. I have not really played it. So if I set up Moss, then I would be possibly troubleshooting any errors if so. Of course, it's funny, last time the biggest error was my right Oculus controller was out of battery. So I had trouble playing the game because my battery was dead. But I didn't know that because I didn't know how the controls worked, so I didn't know that I didn't have my right-handed controls. So that was fun troubleshooting. I did eventually fix it and made it through, and it got Skyrim going. But I've just barely started Skyrim. I mean, literally played about 20 minutes. Okay, so... so you're... Okay, yeah, sorry, see you. Nope, have a lovely day, I understand. Bye-bye. So I finished counting authors previously unstreamed. I've unstreamed. Let me rephrase that. I have only been streaming the very last 5 or 10 minutes of the work I've been doing on this paper. So previously I've already done things like abbreviated and italicized journal names, set up the formatting where it wants semicolons or colons or em dashes or n dashes or bold, italics. What I haven't done yet is double check the titles, because sometimes the titles have subtle typos in them, like a hyphen from a previous version where it had a line break, but in my version it doesn't have a line break, so I have to take the hyphen out, or it has improper capitalization. So some places capitalize the first letter of every word in the title, but most journals, when you're writing the article title, they only want the first letter of the sentence capitalized. And I'm happy to say I found out that Word has this really cool shortcut, at least on a PC. I don't know the code on Mac, called Shift F3. Well, that's the command. And Shift F3 lets you switch back and forth between all lowercase, all caps, and the first letter of the word cap. So that saves me a lot of work of going into every individual word and changing whether it's uppercase or lowercase. So for anyone who's just joined, I'm just doing work until someone joins and says they want to chat or they want me to play a game. So I'm just doing copy editing to pass the time. I do need to get this work done tonight, so I can either do it now if no one's here, or I can do it after gaming if someone comes in and says they want a game, or they can come in and say they want to chat. So I need to check. Some journals, after a colon, you have to capitalize it, or in some journals you have a lowercase. This one apparently is lowercase. Okay, so then I need to make sure after colons they're all lowercase. However, I'm not going to do a search for a colon. So my last action for you, I host you, now really bye. Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. Okay. Thank you. Have a good day. so someone is hosting me copy editing. That's wonderful. That's absolutely adorable. I am enjoying this immensely. So, copy editing is very soothing or meditating for people who like things to be in a very specific order, like to follow rules, which I do, generally speaking. So, they tell me, hey, you have to use this formatting and this capitalization, and I say, okay, and I make sure everything matches. I've been doing this for years, so this isn't a new thing. I've never done it for like months and months on end. I have other work that interrupts it in between, so I'm not sure if I would ever get tired of it or not. I do it usually at least several times a month for several days to a week or two at a time, and so far I've never gotten tired of it. I actually prefer it over a lot of other work. Okay, so this one I'm not sure if it's supposed to be capitalized or lowercase. I'm going to have to look it up online and see, is it a book or is it a journal title? It's a little fuzzy. We'll check it under Google first. Endotext. I've never heard of Endotext. Okay, well I found the object in question. It says it's a book. A book online, but it's still a book. Okay, in that case I need to look up the formatting for books. Formatting for books is different than formatting for journal articles. Okay, so it does want all the words with a first capital letter, but it wants the title in italics. So add italics, and we're good. So I'm just skimming through, looking at the title of the articles or titles of the books, depending on what it is, and checking the capitalization. Which things are capital or not supposed to be capital. That's fine. And there's over 200 references, so it takes me a little while to get through them. I'm on 53 now of checking the capitalization. When I started the stream, I was doing authors. So anything more than 3 authors got an et al. So I finished replacing those. And that sounds simple until you realize that some author names are very, very, very short. So after like 8 letters, you've reached your 3rd author and you add it out. And some author names are very, very long, where it takes about 40 letters before you get to the end of the 3rd author's name. So it's not just like, oh, it's always in around the same spot. No, it's really not in the same spot, actually. Oops, I hit the wrong button. So I actually use my Oculus, my Razor Orb Weaver. I use my Razor Orb Weaver for copy editing. All of the little macros, it's fabulous. I have copy, paste, paste special Word, paste special Excel. I have all sorts of really, really useful macros on my Razor Orb Weaver for copy editing. I did buy it for gaming, I really, really did, but when I discovered how useful it was, I programmed it for work instead, and I never got back around to programming it for gaming. So that's been working really well for me. Oh, and here we are missing a capital letter. There we go. Yeah, so I just got my Razor Orb Weaver in late March. I'd been shopping around for it for a while. So I had bought it before I knew about the COVID shutdown, so it was not related to being home for COVID. I did not know I would be spending this much time at home. So that's why I actually bought it for gaming. But then once I stayed home and started doing a lot of computer work, a lot of computer work, I suddenly discovered, hey, this gaming device is actually a fabulous device for all sorts of software. And luckily, last year, instead of buying a new car, I bought a new computer. So I already had a really nice computer. So I was able to do a lot of things with it already. So I'd already had a webcam, I already had a shiny new keyboard, things like that. So I was actually accidentally well set up for COVID, entirely unplanned. Not entirely well set up for COVID, but the computer setup. Previous to COVID, my computer station and my working desk, my home desk. I don't actually work at home usually that much. I mean, like some of the time. But it was just tucked into the corner of the living room next to the TV because I wouldn't work on the computer and watch TV at the same time. And so if I was watching TV, I had the computer off. And my daughter knew that if I was working, she couldn't watch TV at the same time I was working. But if I was just playing on the computer, then yeah, she could watch TV next to me. But after COVID, and I was stuck in that little teeny cramped corner for months, by the end of June, I was like, okay, this corner is not working anymore. So I completely rearranged the entire dining room. The dining room is not at all the same anymore. Everything got moved around. And then half the living room got moved around. So the half the living room that was kind of my office moved into the dining room. The dining room table moved into the living room, is now tucked in the corner where my computer used to be. And actually works very well. We've got it tucked in a nice corner where we can still sit at the table and eat nicely. And then it's really convenient, so if we have snacks while we're watching TV, it's easy to leave them on the dining room table. The treadmill, which was tucked in behind the dining room table in the dining room, and it was kind of hard to get to, but I could, but it was kind of awkward. I rearranged it and left it in the dining room, but moved it around so it was in a better spot, and it works much better. It's much more comfortable for me to use it. And now when I lift up the I'm not sure what you call it, the exercise, the thing that the wheels go around, or the track. Anyway, the running platform, we'll call it that. So when I lift up the running platform into its upright position, then I can use that floor space for floor exercise work. And before this rearranging of the furniture, I really had nowhere good to exercise. I just didn't. There was no floor space that was really well designed for it. So all the furniture rearranging did a really great job for my usability of my very tiny little apartment. I love my apartment. It's great. I've had many worse ones. But it's a little crowded. Part of it is there's 2 of us here and all of our stuff, and we both have a lot of stuff. So that just keeps it very, very busy. My daughter, who is also my roommate, she's thinking about getting her own place, which means I would have another whole room, which would be absolutely delightful. But she's still young, so I'm not like in a hurry to kick her out or anything. And now that COVID is here, being a brand new adult in COVID is kind of awful for a lot of them. So I understand that it's a struggle to get out there. We also live in a large city, which is hugely expensive. Really, it's not like the top 10 expensive cities in the world, but it's up there. So it is not easy for the young people to get their own place that's not just a completely awful spot. So she and her roommate do want to get their own place before they go to college next year, but they both need good jobs. and find an affordable place, those two things at the same time for both of them, before they can get their own place. So yeah. So I'm wondering how long I can keep babbling before there's no more viewers. Association. Oh, okay, here's one with problem capitalization. So mostly I'm just skimming, and most of them are fine. But yeah, a few are like, nope, nope, that's not the way it should be. So a lot of what I do is just confirming it's correct, which is fine. I still like doing this. So I'm up to 150 now. The 150th reference in the list out of over 200. So right now I'm just skimming the titles. I'm not looking for tiny typos. I'm just looking for anything major. And then I'll go back through and I'll do a slow pass on every single one, relatively slow, where I'm actually reading the entire reference from beginning to end. And that's where I check for any last remaining tiny typos. I've learned from experience that it doesn't matter how many times I skim through the different sections. Like I do the authors at a time, I do the journal titles at a time, I do the volume numbers at a time. So I do different sections all together because they all have their own set of formatting. And it doesn't matter how many times I pass through the sections, I still need to go back through each one as an intact journal reference and double check for the last little bits, because it's easy for little things to slip through. And copy editing scientific journals is a lot more difficult than it sounds. So for example, there's something called 2D4D. 2D4D is the second digit and the fourth digits of your hand. They are developmentally linked to hormones in the embryo stage. If you didn't know that, you might not know how it should be formatted. So for example, 2D4D is the number 2, the letter D, the number 4, the letter D, but in between 2D, 4D, depending on how they write it, is a colon. But there's no space after the colon. So far through this whole article, all of them had 2D colon space 4D. That would be correct if it was a normal colon, but in this case it's a term, not a sentence. So the space is incorrect. So I have to take the space out of there. But since there's several ways you can write the 2D4D, with or without the colon, or different authors use it different ways, I have to actually read through it. And not enough of them are using it to make it worth doing a search and replace. Sometimes there are. Sometimes a certain term will be used many, many times, and then it's just worth doing a search and replace because there's so many. In this instance, since I'm already scanning for capitalization, the 2D4D really stands out. Like it just pops out of the title for me, so I can easily review it while I'm checking other capitalization. Alright, it's getting on to be 8:30 and I haven't had anyone join the chat that wants a game. So in a few more minutes I'm going to end the stream and just go back to work. I know it might be interesting to see how long I can just keep talking out into the ethos without anyone responding. You know, that might be an interesting test someday, but not today. Thanks. And for anyone who's curious, when you're formatting your manuscript for publication, if you have to use Vancouver style references, they are a holy pain in the patootie. Okay, I shouldn't use holy because that has connotations. So they are a major pain in the patootie because you have to number every reference with when it was appeared in the text. So then your references are not in alphabetical order, they're in numerical order. And oh my goodness, if you add or delete an article, especially in the beginning, and then you have to renumber all your references, not just in the reference section, but also in the manuscript itself. So this paper I've been working on quite a bit. I'm getting close to done. I've already finished all the numbering. I've numbered everything in the references section, and I've numbered everything inside the manuscript. And so I'm going through now and double checking the references to make sure there's no glaring errors with a reference, like if I see one that was duplicated. But I'm pretty sure not, because we had them in alphabetical order before we numbered them. So I was able to check for duplicates while they were still alphabetical. Oh, here's another one with the wrong capitalization, so Microsoft Word Shift F3 to the rescue. Woohoo! There. Now instead of every word having a capital letter, they're all lowercase. Very nice. Oh, and here's another one. Oh, that's reminding me I need to hop into ARC and collect an Argentavis egg. So we're breeding Argentavis. We started a new map, and they take like a day and an hour or a day and 2 hours to reset their breeding cycle so that they can breed again. And that's a long time. So last night I turned on breeding, and tonight one of them is ready. The other one I turned on this morning, or someone else turned on. Anyway, for some reason those two birds are now offset. Their schedules are different. I don't know if that's to do with the different levels or if someone else was working with them, because I have 2 members in my ARC tribe besides myself, so there's 3 of us. Okay, so I finished checking capitalization. Again, this was a quick skim. I'm going to go back through and read every single reference individually, and then I'll catch any last typos. But I think this is probably a good place to stop because no one seems to be in the chat, and that's fine. If I did finish this article quickly, which is possible, I don't know yet. I have to finish working on it to know when it's going to be done. Then I'll probably try streaming again later. So for all of you who are expecting a really exciting game, I'm sorry. That could happen this evening, but maybe you enjoyed listening to me babble on anyway. I will see you all again later. Take care. Bye.